This is very close. Rensora. That's very nice. Good morning. My name is No. You can call me Dave, or now Daddy. Don't call me Daddy. That's utterly weird. So there are two things I'm very, very aware of at the moment. One is I don't really want to make this video, but the other thing is that I've made videos for a long time, and I absolutely won't be making any more videos whatsoever until I get this video out of the way. So here goes. If you see this, it's probably been edited to live daylight. So if it hasn't been edited to live daylight, it's gone fairly well, or it just never made the light of day. And that's fine, because sometimes you just need to say the words. I'm currently in the Dave cave, as you can see, with all the robots in the background, because Emily is asleep upstairs in a completely separate bed. Which is part of the story. We'll get to where we need to be. Now, as you all know, me and Emily got pregnant a while ago. Not as long ago as we would have liked, if I'm honest, because just the story will unfold with how... Bear with me. It's 7 o'clock in the morning and I'm not feeling very well. So about 3 weeks ago, Emily's pregnant. It's not been a problem-free pregnancy by any means at all. And Em says, I'm not feeling quite right. Can we go to the doctors? And it's not the first time this has happened, and it's like, oh, do we, don't we, do we, don't we? If we just say here, will it settle down, that sort of thing. And when you're a parent, it's, especially when you're a parent that's been to the docs a few times, and it's a bit kind of run-of-the-mill now, but we decided, let's go to casualty, because the pains were quite painful, and let's just do it. Let's just do it. Let's be positive people. If we're wasting our time, it doesn't matter, because it's all about the sake of the baby. So it's midnight. It's 12:30 at night. So we got in the car and we went to casualty, where we sat for not too long, and we got seen by the triage nurse, and Emily sat there and said, I've got some stomach pains, I'm pregnant, there have been one or two problems down the road, but they're not right, something's not right. And it was very, very short amount of time between the triage nurse turning up and saying, okay, I'm not quite sure what to do, I'm going to go and take advice, and actually sitting there outside and having someone, right, come this way, come through the actual A&E bit where all the people, basically the drunks at that time in the morning, sit there and wait. And then we got taken through to a corridor and a bed, and they said, sit on here, someone will be with you shortly. And shortly went on and on and on. Emily's stomach started to hurt and hurt and hurt, and I was full of worry, and we are sat in a corridor at, I think it's about 1 o'clock in the morning, maybe 1:30 in the morning by this time, getting very, very frustrated because there's no one seeing us and there's nothing going on. And there is a girl 2 beds behind us who is just sat there with makeup and her hair all done nice, curled up in a ball with a sick bucket under her chin. And then the old man on the other side shit himself while we were in the corridor, just sat waiting. So we've got anxiety and pain of 2 people who are, I'm going to consider myself pregnant at this time. I mean, the belly's starting to look that way anyway these days. Don't say it. So you've got drunk girl who's muttering to herself and puking, and you've got old man who's just shit himself in the corridor, and we're sat in between these 2 beautiful fragrances. Worrying, just worrying, okay? And Em starts to feel a bit better, and she sort of sat there, and you know that point where you go to the doctors and you start to feel a little better, and you start to think to yourself, am I wasting your time here? I feel a bit guilty. Am I in the right place? Am I doing the right thing? But anyway, so Em says to me, I need a wee. I think I need a little wee. This is going to be graphic, by the way. If you're not into this bit's going to be horrible, and everything afterwards is going to be just as bad. So if you don't want to hear the blood and guts of what's going to go on, you need to turn it off now and just put "love you guys" at the bottom. Baby's okay. Just let me jump to the end of the story. Everything's good in the hood, all right? If you don't like the horrible stuff, now's the time. You've been warned. So Emily says to me, I hope this is all right with you, Em. I guess you're going to watch this before anyone else does. We'll get it cleared by the authorities before it goes up. Em goes to the toilet, and I just sat on the bed. And the protective part in me is thinking, do I need to go with her? Do I need to stand outside the door to make sure she's all right? All that sort of stuff. But I didn't, because I didn't want someone to come to the bed and say, pew, and then lose our spot or something like that. So I sat there, and Emily went. And then after a couple of minutes, Emily came back just in absolutely floods of tears and covered in blood. And she went for a wee and sat down, and whatever happened, whatever moved, she just exploded in blood. And she was absolutely inconsolable. And there are, up until now, there'd been some pretty horrible stuff in my existence. And all of that stuff is now gone, because it's just replaced with the look on Em's face, well, I'll never forget. Because from down her legs, down her socks, she sat on the bed, and she just burst into tears, because at that point, if you lose that amount of blood when you're having a baby, it only means one thing, doesn't it? It means no more baby. And I sprang into action, and after sitting there, we'd been sitting there for a good hour and a half, and I went and said to the guy who was running the A&E, I don't know, he was the head, he was Charlie from Casualty off of 20 years ago. Yeah, so he's running the gig, and he wasn't unsympathetic, he just had this cold, blank face on him. And I said to him, look, in the nicest possible way, we're sat in a fucking corridor, she's just exploded from her vagina, there's still blood everywhere, it's blood all over the bed, all over everywhere, there's just blood, and she's crying her eyes out. And after a couple of minutes, we just sat there, and I'm holding Emily, because I can't do anything else. And I don't believe that shouting at this point is going to do any better, because if you start shouting at someone, the help doesn't get more, does it? I know the greasy wheel, the greasy cog gets the oil, that sort of stuff, but the absolute prick gets no help at all. So it's a fine line, okay? I don't know which one I'm going. So they moved us into one of the little side cubicles. Yeah, side cubicle. And then it turns out that, and this is supposition on my part, but I'm pretty sure the side cubicle was just to stop the horrifically crying girl crying in public. It wasn't for being seen. It wasn't for being reassured. It wasn't for a conversation with anyone. And we still sat for well over an hour in a cubicle with Emily bleeding from heavily. Not a little bit, but like enough that it was on the bed and you could see shit. No pad, no change of the sheets that were there, no would you like a gown, none of that. Just fucking sat there for an hour or more. And it was terrible. And then I went over to one of the nurses and I said, look, I don't want to be that guy, but I am absolutely so angry at the moment because Emily is covered in blood. It's down to her socks. And none of you lot have come to talk to us. Nothing has happened. I can't believe this is the treatment that we're getting. I understand that you lot are busy. But if one of you could actually take the time and just say, oh, maybe you wouldn't want to sit in those bloody clothes. Maybe we can sort you out with a gown or something. At which point they went, yes, fine. Okay, we didn't realise. Because they were just so busy. Got her some clothes, took her to the toilet. Wheeled the bed to the toilet so she didn't have to walk very far, because every time she got up and tried to walk, more goop squeezed out. Of course, goop is baby. No goop, no baby. And then when Em got up to go into the toilet and used it, I saw the amount of blood that was on the bed. And then they didn't keep it. They didn't do anything. And loads of questions that happened subsequent to that were very, very integral to the amount of stuff that she'd lost. And there was a patch this big, just wet red blood, and they just went, scooped it all up in the fucking bin, just moved it. And then scarily at that point I thought, right, we are in. This is the indicator that we needed. This is the moment when it sat there and said, this is how bad things are, and this is what we're going to do. No, we went back into the hallway where we sat, bleeding, panicking. And the worst thing was that after about 3/4 of an hour of just sitting there, we both were just accepting of the fact that we'd lost our baby, and we were sat in a hallway with drunk people, losing our kiddie. And it was really bad, and it was really early in the morning at this point as well. So we eventually got moved into one of the actual emergency blocks, and this is maybe 5 o'clock in the morning. So we've had 2 hours sleep. We went to bed at like 10:30, 11:30, 12 o'clock. We were awake going, something's not right. Drive to the hospital. And we sat in an empty room with people on the right and people on the left, and loads of stuff going on, and nurses popping in from time to time just going, are you comfortable? Would you like anything? Do you want some water? Will water save our fucking baby? No, I don't think it will. Maybe I'd like you to do something about it. No doctor, no nurses, and it's only when the head nurse, that seemed like a very capable person, seemed like a very capable human being, actually came by at some point and said, do you know what the plan is? And I'm like, no, I don't know what the fucking plan is. And they said, right, we're taking you to the Princess Anne opposite. Now, the Princess Anne, for those who don't know, because most of you won't, is the actual children's hospital opposite, where they do babies specifically. It's what they're good at. It's one of the best in the country. In fact, I think it's the best in the country. Thank whoever. Doing a video. Good morning. Come and say hello.
I've like just woken up.
Just poke your head in, say hello, let everyone know that you're all right, and then you can bugger off. We've been there long enough that I'm sat there and I'm clawing at stuff. I'm literally up, and I'm walking up and down, and Emily's saying to me, calm down, Dave. You getting angry and causing a scene isn't helping. It's not helping anyone. It's not helping anything. Just relax. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And then eventually someone, oh, that's right, the guy came to say to us, you're going next door. So after a little while, the nursey said, have you thought about how you're getting there? Do you want a wheelchair or do you want an ambulance? And we said instantly, I don't want a wheelchair, because every time Emily moves and gets up, more blood comes out. And I said, no, or an ambulance. And she's like, all right, well, let's see what I can do. I'm going to go make the phone call now. And then someone sat down and made the phone call. And then we didn't hear anything again for another 40 minutes or something like that. And it turns out that they didn't want to send an ambulance, because an ambulance was like, why the hell will we do an ambulance when you've got the hospital here and the Princess Anne here, and all we're going to do is drive you from here to here? And then offered us a wheelchair to push her over, and I'm like, I don't want to do that, because every bump and scrape, and I don't really know where I'm going, and I don't know what ward I'm going to. Just do your fucking job and get us an ambulance. So in the end, Emily said to me, go home, get some clothes, get some stuff for me to change in, just go home and get the essentials that I need and bring them back in a bag. And then at that point, I got in the car when I left and had to phone both sets of parents and say, it looks like we're losing the baby. And just exploded in a ball of tears in the car while I was driving, which is a stupid thing to do. But when is the right time to tackle these things? Because obviously I didn't want to stop, and I didn't want to take time when I got home to do stuff. Once I got home, I needed to be efficient and just go bang, 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 get what I needed, back to work. Not work, back to Emily. And then I got a call when I was just about to leave, coming back, saying, I've done it. I've gone to the Princess Anne. I'm over the road. We've made it. We're here. At which point, I went back, I saw her, I found where she was, I asked the people, she's in a little triage, they've done a boop, 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 boop on her tummy, and the baby is still going, which is just probably the single best news that I could have ever asked for. Even now, with all the bad stuff that's gone on subsequently, that little bit of best news was the best news by a country mile. So they did a sonogram. It's not a sonogram because that's a picture, but it's called a Doppler. And they put this little stick on her belly and you hear the whoop-woo, whoop-woo, whoop-woo of baby's tummy. So after hours and hours and hours of being in there, they let us go because they couldn't find anything wrong. They couldn't find anything wrong. There was nothing wrong. They couldn't find anything wrong. We just had this absolutely enormous, horrific, life-altering, soul-destroying bleed. For no reason whatsoever. And then you do your research and you find out that it's not uncommon. Loads and loads and loads of people have an absolutely savage bleed all the time. For no reason whatsoever. And then they get sent home and everything's fine. So we got sent home and we got told, be careful. Don't come in the car. If you get another bleed, even if it's just a little bleed, don't come in the car, call an ambulance, and the ambulance will deal with it accordingly, because the ambulance then has the ability to take us to where we need to go. Okay, fine. So we're home. We're home. Everything's fine. Big sigh of relief. Kiss, cuddle, go to bed early, breathe, phone work, because obviously I'd missed a day's worth of work, and I just told work, you can fuck off. I'm not coming in till Monday. This was on Wednesday. All of this is kicking off. So that's 2 days of work off, a third day of work off, weekend, back to work. Back to normality. Just make sure she's all right. And we got to 11 o'clock, 11:30 that night. Did the same thing again, except with an ambulance, where we went in and the bleed wasn't anywhere near as bad, but it was definitely a bleed, a proper one. Where you had to, without being ninky, change a pad every 10 minutes or something like that. It's bad enough to have an ambulance out. And the ambulance took us to the Princess Anne. We got admitted. We got the scan. Baby's still fine. And they said, right, Emily, you're going to stay. You're going to stay in hospital for a few days. We're just going to try and find out what it is. I'm going to bypass a load of stuff now because we're already 20 minutes into this video. But after doing a couple of sonograms and after seeing the baby a couple of times and that sort of thing, which is all well and nice, they found just, if the baby is this big, the blood clot on the lining of her womb was this big and lumpy, and it was profound, and I never got to see it until everything had gone wrong. So Em stayed in hospital for 2 weeks, 2 whole weeks, and it was very boring, and I ended up just going back to work and going to see Em after work in hospital every evening. And that was that. And then after a while, the bleed stopped and she had to go 24 hours with no signs of any illness or blood or anything whatsoever. And that happened. And then eventually she got let go and I went and picked her up and we came home for a couple of days and I treated her with kid gloves because we didn't want to just bumping up and down in the car and stuff like that set her off. I don't think we actually lasted more than a couple of hours without something going slightly wrong, but Em was like, no, I want to, it's fine, it'll calm down, just let me sit here for a little while. And then after 3 days of being at home, she woke me up and said, it hurts, it really hurts, it hurts, it hurts. So we got an ambulance, we went to the hospital, and after sitting in a private room and just sitting down and relaxing and going, oh, this is nice, because it was painful and we'd been through a lot, and this was like a 10 on the 100 scale of shit things that have happened. And then after the next day came along and they did a load of, prodding and poking and that sort of thing, they said, you're 1 centimetre dilated at 15 weeks early, and we need to do something about it. So we had lots and lots of discussions about how to stop the contractions happening, how to stop the pregnancy, how to just put a sort of whoa tiger on absolutely everything. And all of that, after all the consultants and all sorts of stuff came along, basically it transpired that the baby was coming, and if the little one were to arrive, it wouldn't survive. But the implications of trying to... It was money, which I hate to say, and I'm not dissing the NHS. I'm not shitting on the NHS for love nor money, because they saved him, ultimately. But basically, we were told that the operation that it would take to save the little one we're not going to give, because the chances of the little one actually surviving the operation are so small. The suggestion was, we want you to have the baby the normal way, through the... And when you do have the baby through the... We probably don't expect you to have a proper baby at the other end. It won't survive. But we didn't really... We did have a choice, and if we had said to them, no, I want you to do everything you possibly can, I think they would have. But we both realised that we weren't on to a winner. There'd been an awful lot of complications, and we were both sort of emotionally so tired at the time that we just said, just do what you think is best, do what you need to do, and we'll go with it, because they were the ones who were in the know. And the ramifications of looking after a child that had been through all that were extreme with regards to illnesses and mental illnesses and just functions generally of a tiny baby. So the advice was, close your goddamn legs and don't have a baby. Sit there, relax, and let's see if we can push this in for 2 or 3, maybe even a week, okay? Just relax. So that didn't happen, because by the time it hit 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm sat up with Emily every 30 seconds while she goes, I breathe through it and all that sort of stuff, and stroking her hair and just feeling like a useless piece of man shit. And guilt like to the 3rd degree for just putting her through all of this crap, because ultimately it's my stupid Willie that had put her through all of this stuff. And then after lots and lots of conversations and lots of monitoring and lots of this, that and the other and everything, I rang the buzzer for the nurse at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I just said, look, you need to come, because something has changed, something is different, something has fucking happened, and you need to come now. At which point they came in and had a look, and there were the gap between the contractions was way shorter than the time it takes to have the contractions. And Sarah, the specialist lady, came in. We had 2 nurses, Alex and Sarah, and Alex, the first lady, who was great, came in, had a little and said, you've got no cervix. I'm just stay there, don't move. So they went away. And the super ultra very, very confident, one of the best in the country ladies came back and said, you've got no cervix, we're having a baby. So we were going to get neonatal, we were going to have conversations with people, we were going to have all sorts of preparation, and warning would be the wrong word, but we were going to have an easy in to what was about to happen. Unfortunately, what actually happened was me shitting myself, Emily going, oh fuck, we're in it, and the entire team just going, right, we're having a baby now. And then like the room suddenly was rush full of people. You couldn't move in there. I'm sat there, like, again, being my stupid man meat, just like, can I just have a wee? I just want to move. And I couldn't. Everywhere you go, there was just specialists and people, and so there's the bed, and there's the chair, the table over there to put the baby on, and then there's people setting up machines that go ding and stuff like that. And next thing you know, someone's saying to Emily, whatever you do, don't push. And Sam's like, all right, fine. She's been given the gas and air. Emily was quite she quite liked the gas and air. It's funny. She didn't like the machine, because the machine made made this noise. I don't like it. And then after 5 puffs, she was just like, gas and air, fucking brilliant. And they said, don't push, don't push, don't push. And she didn't push, and it still fell out anyway. And no word of a lie, the baby just went. Now, one of the things that we've been told is the very, very best way that we could deliver this baby took 3 contractions. The time it took to go from we're going to have a baby, let's set up, to actually having a baby on the table was maybe 45 minutes. It happened like this. It happened in no time. And one of the things that I just couldn't face was seeing the little one, because knowing that we'd gone through everything that we'd gone through to have a stillborn baby, I don't think my soul could have taken that. That would have been too hard. I couldn't have done it. And I looked down and I saw this thing, and I didn't know what it was, because it was just like this thing. It was like this big jelly ball. It turned out that Emily had done the one thing that she needed to do. She had passed the baby from her onto the bed in the amniotic sac, which meant that there was no infection and there was none of all of this horrible stuff. It had been perfect scenario. Again, didn't want to look, did see it come out. Don't think I'm ever going to have sex again, because to be honest with you, some of the stuff that I saw was just like, oh, I just got to wash my eyes out from the inside for a little while. So they picked up the little ball of spud, cut off the cord, and then moved him onto the bed. And all I looked at this point was Emily, because we still had to deliver the placenta. The only priority for me is just, let's make this as easy as it can be for Emily, because it can't be easy, but she is the priority right now. Everything else can fuck off, because I don't want to know about the dead baby. My soul can't take it. So we did all of those bits, and I looked at Em, and she looked at me for the rest of the time. But we got there, and then one of the nurses is like, come over, and I'm like, I can't do it. I know I'm going to regret this, but I can't do it. And they said, no, come over and look, touch him. And I'm like, and it's no. And he made it. He's fucking alive. He's got his own lungs. Everything's working. I mean, they don't know what state he's in, but because he arrived in the fluid sac, they picked him up in the fluid sac, cut the fluid sac, open him up. So the very first thing they got to do was all the disinfectant, all the clean stuff, all of the help that he could possibly want in the world was there at the very, very second he got exposed to the galaxy. And they did everything that they could, and they were absolutely fucking amazing, and I cannot thank that team enough, and nor can Emily. But the long story short is, our little man was kicking and screaming. He wasn't kicking and screaming, he was doing nothing, but he was alive and he was breathing, and they were happy with it, and he was breathing of his own volition. They didn't have to put a tube into his lungs and breathe for him or anything like that. They had to assist him a little bit, but all the parts that needed to work were working, which was everything that they said wasn't going to happen. When, whoa, this is hard to sort of take in, you know. So, I got to go and say hello. I got to touch his little hand. They wrapped him up in a big swaddle. They put him on Emily, because apparently every single baby that comes out there always sits on mummy before it gets taken away to make sure it's okay. And then when they put the little one on Em, he kind of opened his eyes a little bit and did a little like that, and that was it. Parent mode had kicked in. Boom. The change in Emily since is just beyond words. So they whisked him off. We didn't see him for about 3 hours, by which time all the grandparents had arrived, because I'd lied to Emily and got the grandparents down at about 8 o'clock in the morning when she said she didn't want to see him, because people don't make good decisions when you're in pain and stuff full of gas and air and fear. So I'd made that sort of decision for her in many ways. And no one's really got to see him very much yet and that sort of thing. But he's been in the neonatal ward for a while, and he's doing okay. And he is doing the do. He's growing. We don't know that he's grown. We haven't weighed him yet. We're going to leave him in the box for a little while and just give him some mum's milk and just let him cook for a week or so, and we'll go from there. The biggest problem subsequently is Emily goes to see him every single day. I take her, I drop her off at the hospital. Mum and Dad dropped her off yesterday because I've now got pneumonia. And she spends 3 hours, 4 hours in there just staring at this clear box. She's been learning how to express milk. The hospital have been absolutely magnificent with regards to how you do motherhood. Because obviously at 15 weeks early, 15 weeks and 3 days. It's important, but you don't know all the things that you get taught in the last stages of pregnancy. This is how you do this, this is how you do that, this is what you're going to do. We bypassed all of that by 2 months. But because I was in and out of hospital so much for 3 weeks solid, I have pneumonia, which means I can't go and see the baby. I can't give Emily a kiss. We can't sleep in the same bed. I can't help. I can't sterilise the bottles. I can't help her do the titty machine. We got a £1,000 titty machine that just sucks on her boobs and expresses milk, but Mum's milk has enzymes in it which helps his gut form, and he has to have it. And I can't go and do any of that stuff for at least a week. So I've got some masks turning up today because pneumonia, if I cough on stuff and the tiny droplets of moisture drop on other people, they get shit too. So I'm literally hiding myself in the house. And you've heard me coughing, so that's why I'm wearing this thing. So I'm now Dick fucking Turpin for a week while she's off playing with baby Dave. And yes, I've named him after myself. Because, to be honest with you, we've called him Baby Dave for so long that every time I suggested another name, every time we talked about another name, it always just came back to Baby. I've reached the maximum size for a video. So I've got pneumonia, the baby's fine. Everything's good. We're getting there. That's the end of it, really. I had to get this from the inside onto the outside, and yeah, I'm a dad, and Emily's a mum. Little Dave is a little Dave. David James Mentz. James is after Captain Kirk. Frankly, that's only because Dave Sean Luke Mentz wouldn't have made any sense, and David Optimus Mentz is just even more crazy. But he does have a little Optimus Prime that sits at the end of his bed watching him, which they actually moved, and they specifically put him with the eyes of the Optimus Prime watching little Dave, so Optimus could watch over him, which made me very happy. My name has been SMS number 1. This is 35 minutes of video, and I've got a feeling that my phone is about to stop and turn itself off. So, shout to all the generosity that's come out, because the outpouring of generosity has just been insane, and it makes you realise who your friends are. And it makes you realise that if you haven't spoken to someone for a while, it doesn't stop you being friends. It just means that you haven't spoken to them for a while, and you can restart friendships after a long time. And it just takes a little bit of bravery to actually do it.
He says no. No, he says I'm not doing it. I'm not holding your hand today, Mama. No. You're hairy, just like your dad.
He is hairy, isn't he?
Yeah. Oh, he's proper twitching. He must be having a sleep.
Maybe. Touch his hand, see if he'll reach out.
Touch his foot. He's mostly got tickly feet like you. Oh, look. Oh. He says no, don't want to touch you.
Hey.
Going a little bit more if you like. That's it, look, he's having a jump.
Oh.
You having it?
Yeah.
Roll it a little bit. There you go. Look at that.
Oh God, he's having a little
Give it a little twizzle.